kanji. And by the way, none of the stuff that I'm handwriting on the board shows up in the video. The only time it shows as a video component is if I've got stuff pre-made on the computer, and then it'll show whatever's on my computer screen. So when I'm just talking like this and demonstrating with a marker on the board, all you get is my voice and the blue screen of my computer.
Is it going directly? I mean, can I access it tonight or not?
It should be up there tonight, yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
Okay, so speaking of kanji, shall we go ahead and look at the kanji for this chapter?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Okay, and I've actually got flashcards with me for this, so. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with, do you guys want to go over the individual pieces first, or are you ready to tackle flashcards?
Let's try.
Flashcards? Okay, so, kyo, yeah, this is ko, as in kodomo. So kyoko,
Capital child.
capital child, is actually a common girl's name. Okay? And you'll notice that there's a certain generation of women in Japan who all have ko-ending names. And you'll also notice that the following generation, the women more like my age, many of them either have dropped the ko off of their name, just choosing not to use it, or they've made a point of not naming their daughters with ko-ending names, because one of the effects of the feminist movement in Japan was that women decided that as a grown woman they didn't like having a child suffix on their name. And so a lot of women, it started with women my mom's generation. Some of them just chose not to give ko-ending names to their daughters, but even more so my generation, most of those women have given their daughters completely different names, like Azusa and Hitomi and other names like that that don't end in ko.
I just realized that the Japanese girls that I know, all their names end in ko.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they're still very common, very popular names, but more and more women are choosing names for their own daughters that get away from this very traditional format. The names like Kyoko and Mieko and Yukiko and Akiko, those are names like Mary and Sarah, really traditional names. Some families want a really traditional name for their kids. Some families want something unique and different and modern sounding. So it's a real mixture, but a generation or two ago, you probably would have had a hard time finding a woman whose name didn't end in ko. And now it's probably closer to 50-50.
like my friend's mom is Chizuko.
Yeah, Chizuko is another common one. Hiroko,
I didn't even
Yukiko.
It just blew my mind. But
Yeah.
I
So-
didn't notice all their names in the ko.
Yeah.
Is it possible that you could legally set the reading of a kanji to something entirely different, or?
You can choose to give kanji you like, but then an unusual reading to that kanji. Normally, they'll still pick a reading that is considered within the realm of possibility for that kanji, but it could be a less common pronunciation than a normal one.
Because I remember reading
But
about that a couple
Think
times.
about the kids in this country who have a name that's spelled really weird and you don't pronounce it the way it's spelled, or you don't spell it the way you think it's going to be spelled from the pronunciation, and how much trouble they have going through life,
So it's not a very
it's
common
not-
practice.
Yeah, so it's not popular in Japan because with kanji, first of all, you need to be able to tell somebody this is the name, this is my name, and this is the kanji I used to write it. With this, it's very easy to say the kyo that means capital, and the ko that means child, and verbally describe your name, say over the phone if you're, dictating to somebody who's filling out a form,
No.
you know. Think
So-
about trying to do that if you didn't know how to explain the kanji in your name.
So if they were trying to fill out a form, would they automatically default to kanji, or would they just write
Yeah.
hiragana?
No, they write their name in kanji on forms in Japan, but if it's an unusual reading, they'll put the furigana on it.
Ah. So they
Or
automatically know
some-
which kanji is used for common names.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in Japan is gonna recognize this kyoko is the most common kyo for kyoko. But there are other possibilities for kyo, for the kyo and kyoko. There are other kanji that can be read as kyo. So capital child is not the only possible kanji way to write the name kyoko. Just like yukiko, the most common one would probably be the yuki that means snow. But it could be the combination of the yu that means arrow and the ki that means feeling, if they wanted to do
Arrow
that.
feeling.
I had a friend once whose name was Miyako, and I think her name was the mi that means beautiful, the et that means branch, like branch of a tree,
Beautiful
And-
branch.
and the ko that means child.
Beautiful branch child.
But there are other possibilities for Miyako, you know.
Monkey.
No, the mi that means, instead of beauty, you
No,
could
the
use the.
beautiful tree child.
Yeah, oh, but, yeah, the mi that means seed would be another option in place of the one that means beautiful.
Oh.
So,
I mean, I guess it's the same in English, so you're talking about forms. I mean, if
Yeah.
somebody's name is spelled weird and you try to spell it, they
Yeah.
spell it wrong. Like, I mean,
Right.
I spell Zach with a CH, and every single time they fill out forms for me.
they always want to
Same
do
thing
a
with me,
CK.
seriously. Why do they always get it wrong?
Yeah,
It's like, I get it.
yeah, yeah, the CH spelling is the one I'm used to seeing, but I guess a lot of people do CK for that name, so.
Shisai.
Shisai.
Small.
Small. Okay.
That's
Kaisha, yes, kaisha. And I don't know if they gave you this one or not. Did they also give you shakai?
Yes. Shakai for society.
Yes.
Yes.
So the two are, it's the same two kanji in reverse. Kaisha is a company, you know, like a for-profit organization, right? And shakai is society. Same two kanji, just written in the opposite order, and it's an entirely different meaning.
Wow.
Kaisha.
Interesting.
Okay, what's this one?
Otosan.
Hi.
Father.
Otosan. And you'll notice that this to, in otosan, this component shows up as a part of a bunch of other kanji.
Including the one for school.
Yes. Okay.
It also looks like two hammers, like two tools crossed together, so.
Yeah.
Okasa.
Okasan.
Mother.
Yes. Okay. And the ka part of okasan also shows up in a number of other characters, and there are some characters where the kind of simplified version of this character is the component that gets used. So these two dots in the middle get fused into a single vertical line in some incarnations of this kanji that originally would have been written this way. But there are pieces where the ka is part of the kanji, where it gets fused into a single line, and then there are other places where that component is left with the two separate lines.
In the book on the far left, it's like, it's way
Yeah.
more slanted.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot more slanted in the book, so is it straight,
Yeah.
slanted, like what
Looks like-
what's the
It
right
almost
way?
is like coup with a,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
It's like a parallel.
When I write, yeah, when I write okasan, mine comes out fairly square, but people who write it that way, that's not wrong either.
Oh, so it's like the
Okay.
whole toll thing, you can go on top or diagonally
Yeah.
out to the side,
But normally it's like
slanted.
an L shape, and then the reverse to close it off, and then dot dot cross piece. That's the most common stroke order for it. But yeah, the more horizontal one or the more angled one, that is more of a handwriting difference. And as you can see, a font style difference. This is, you know, it's truly, it doesn't, it's not right or wrong either way. They're both
Okay.
acceptable. But it's good to get used to the fact that that's within the normal range of variation, because, you know, it's, until you get used to kanji, it can be difficult to decipher what's different enough to make it look like something else and what's within the normal range of variation.
Tokyo.
Hi, Tokyo. There's that kyo again, that means capital. So can you guess what this translates as?
South capital.
East
Er.
capital.
Oh, I was getting it mixed up.
Yeah.
Ah.
East capital. Now, if you replace this with kita, north capital, do you know what you get? The Chinese kanji for Beijing, northern capital, is the translation of Peking, Beijing, China. And Nanjing, have you heard of that one? That nan is Minami.
Oh.
Nanjing is southern capital. So eastern capital, although I think it originated as being further east than Kyoto, because Kyoto was the capital of Japan for a long time before, we don't have a.
So it's just a coincidence that their
But it
syllables
also
are
happens
reversed.
to be east of the capitals of China. So it's an interesting coincidence. So the only one missing is there is no western capital in China or elsewhere. Okay, so, and in China, they would refer to Tokyo by its Chinese pronunciation of this compound,
Which is.
which is, they would say Dongjing instead of Tokyo.
Kodomo. Child.
Kodomo, hi, kodomo. So there's that ko again, but this is why so many Japanese women resent having the ko endings on their names. And some of them just choose to write it phonetically with hiragana rather than use this kanji. Some of them drop it off of their name entirely and just go by the first part of the name. So like I had a teacher in high school whose name was Makiko, and because she was living in America and married to an American, she went by Maki, partly because she was sick and tired of people mispronouncing her name as Makiko, because it was Makiko, and she didn't like the sound of Makiko, which is how she imitated the way Americans butchered her name. So,
Speaking of kodomo, is the difference between that and ko by itself just nuance, or can you use it in some compounds, like onna no kodomo?
onna no ko versus onna no kodomo. Onna no ko is the normal phrase. Kodomo is usually when the word child is a standalone
Kodomo.
word.
Ah.
As when ko is part of a phrase like onna no ko, otoko no ko, then usually they just use ko. Ko by itself, though, doesn't occur very often. So if you've got a place where you're just saying child,
It's usually kodomo.
you'll usually use kodomo. But if you're saying, you know, girl child, boy child, other phrases that use
Man
ko
child.
in them, you'll more likely just use the
Like
ko
you
rather
would
than the
say
full kodomo.
Susan wa ko desu.
No, Susan wa kodomo desu, yeah.
You could say,
But Susan,
are wa
kodomo
onna no
desu.
ko desu.
Yeah, onna no ko desu, or Su-chan wa kodomo desu. Or if, like, Sue has children, Susan no ko desu, or Susan no kodomo desu, I
Those
would
are
say
her
kodomo
kids.
is better than ko.
Alright.
Okay?
Au.
Au,
To
the
meet.
verb to meet, yes. Au, aimasu, aimashita, all that stuff. Okay,
Chichi. Father.
father.
I was trying to think how to say it by itself.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a Tosan, but
Yeah,
then
it's a Tosan, but then it's read chichi when it's
Chichi.
by itself. And does anyone anyone know the difference in usage between Chichi and Otosan?
Isn't it?
Well, I know-
Own father, Chichi,
Right.
just like
When
Uchi is
you're-
own house.
Okay.
Well, I know that Chi-Chi is the kunyomi, so
Right.
less formal generally.
No, actually, that, in this case, that doesn't entirely explain it. Let me do the three categories for you guys. So, okay.
Also too about someone else's.
Okay, so family terms divide up into three major categories in Japanese. Okay? When you're talking to your own family members, you use honorific kinship terms to anyone who's older than you within the family. So that's where you get oto-san, oka-san, one-san, okay,
Is that also where imoto and
san, and oni-san. Oh, sorry, oni-san, okay?
Wait, which one's brother and sister again? I keep getting those confused.
This one's sister, this one's brother. Okay. Okay, so oto-san, oka-san, I'm not bothering with the kanji for one-san, oni-san right now because we're not studying those yet.
Okay.
Okay? There are variants on these depending on how formal or informal your particular family may be. So, san can get replaced with chan. O can get dropped or left. And depending on region of the country and how country the family is versus how citified this family is, there are dozens of variations. So, oto-san could be shortened to to-san or to-chan to be more casual. Oto-san is like father. If you're a very formal family, maybe you call your parents father and mother. If you're a less formal family, maybe you call them mom and dad, or mommy and daddy, or mama and papa. You know, to-san, to-chan, you know. I've even heard like Toto-chan and Kaka-chan but that's like really country, like hick sounding.
Sounds almost cute.
Yeah, well, and it was cute. It was in, I know that some of you guys watch anime films. There's a Studio Ghibli film that came out not that long ago, Kaguya Hime no Monogatari, the tale of Princess Kaguya.
I think I may have seen
It's
couple
the
trailers.
It's a bamboo princess legend, the like folk tale about the princess that was a little baby found inside of a bamboo stalk, and the old couple rescued her and raised her as their own. And in the film that was not that long ago, I think she called her parents, the parents who raised her, this sort of mythical princess, she was calling them something along the lines of Toto-chan and Kaka-san, or Kaka-chan and Kaka-san. I don't remember exactly what they were called. She was calling them, but it was definitely interesting to hear it. Because it was like, okay, that's a version I haven't heard before. One-san and oni-san, same deal.
Yeah.
Ne-chan,
Those I've heard.
ni-chan. And sometimes if there's multiple older siblings, they get called by name plus ne-chan suffix. So like if Mariko is the oldest sister, she might be Mari ne-chan. or Mariko ne-chan, depending on that family, and then if the second sister is, say, Yukiko, she might be Yuki ne-chan. And the oldest sister calls her younger siblings by their names, or their nicknames, but the youngest child ends up calling everybody something or something ne-chan, something or something ne-chan.
What about
Yeah. Imoto is usually not a form of address, it's just how you would refer to your younger siblings.
So you
when
don't
you're
have to-
telling, you don't call them imoto, you just,
So that falls under the
Refer-
talk about.
this would be talk about my family. So
So-
you would use chichi and haha to talk about my father, my mother, especially in formal circumstances where you're trying to sound mature. You would not talk about your own mom and dad as otosan, okasan in a formal situation. Okay? The same thing with ane and ani. Sorry. Ani. Notice that you not only lose the long vowel sound here, you also change from o to a. And that's an important difference. Ane is my older sister talking to someone outside the family. Ani is my older brother talking to someone outside the family. Leaving the O on there makes it sound really funny. One just doesn't sound like anything. But oni sounds like a demon. So you may feel like your older brother's a demon, but it's not polite to say so. Okay.
So imoto and itoto go there too?
Yeah, imoto and ototo would be here. So,
I guess, so the English equivalent is almost like you say my younger sister instead of saying like Mary. No, who's Mary? You're like, oh, my younger sister.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so within the family, you just call her by her name, but when you're talking about her to somebody outside the family, you say my little sister, my little brother, that kind of thing. Okay, talking to or about someone else's family members, you go back to, oh, sorry, I should write the kanji for that. Oto-san, oka-san, and one-san, oni-san, like that. And, so, one-san, oni-san, like this, but then also, because it's someone else's family and you're being polite, imoto-san and ototo-san.
Ah.
So you actually add the san when you're talking about
Someone
someone
else's other
else's little
sister.
brother. So if I'm asking Cassie how her sister is she the younger one?
Mm-hmm.
So I could say, imoto-san wa dou desu ka? Imoto-san wa genki desu ka? Something like that, right? So, although, I don't remember if I told you guys this or not, with twins, they reverse it. In Japanese belief, the baby that was born first instead of twins was the one that was conceived second. So, if she was born after
That's
you,
confusing.
they
That's
think
sick.
that means that she was conceived first, so they would call her One-chan and you imoto.
When I told my sister that, she started making fun of me.
Oh, yeah? Are you a twin also? That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. We've got two individual twins in the class this time. And remember when you took level 1, there were 2 sets of twins in the class?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
2 pairs that I had to learn how to tell the difference between. Yeah, and you're identical, right?
Mhm.
You certainly look a lot alike to me, and the other 2 also, Kana and Reina, if they didn't wear their hair slightly different and have different frames to their glasses, I'd be lost.
I bet I do that on purpose.
I'm sure.
I'm horrible at telling people apart.
Yeah. So, but does that help clarify the kinship term issue? So, and the same thing's going to extend to like oba-san, oji-san, grandmother and grandfather, and the talking about one's own is sofu and sobo are terms that we're not studying yet, but it's the same concept.
So, just like, you can only use uchi when you're talking about uchi, when you're talking about your own house. Like, you can't say like Susan or uchi.
You can,
But you can't say Susan
Sounds
or
weird.
chichi.
no, Susan no ouchi would be more polite.
That's saying Susan no otosan.
Wait, what?
You asked two different questions.
Sorry.
So, uchi is talking about home, right?
Okay.
So, o-uchi is the honorific that you can use to talk about someone else's home.
Okay.
Okay,
Susan no
and so Susan no ouchi means Sue's honorable home,
Okay.
okay? Susan no otosan would be Sue's father. You would not use Susan no chichi. That sounds weird.
And there's no more polite way to, because you said otosan, at least about your own parents, was kind of weird, instead of using chichi or mom.
Right. I mean, if you're talking casually to your friend, you can use like uchi no otosan, my house's dad,
Oh,
to say my dad instead of chichi. You
okay.
can do that. It would only happen with really casual friends or like talking to your cousins, for example.
Oh.
You know, so you're talking about your own dad and your cousin's dad, and to differentiate between the two, maybe you would say uchi no otosan and oji-san, uncle, to refer to your cousin's dad, you know, because he's your uncle, right? But it would be, yeah, it gets confusing otherwise, but yeah, that's important to differentiate, you know, but chichi and haha are definitely only used to talk about your own parents.
Ha ha.
Yes. Okay, so there's haha.
Coco.
Koko. Make
Ko-
sure you give the
Ko-
long vowel sounds,
Ko-
because otherwise it sounds like koko, which just means here. We're not talking about here.
So
We're
that's
talking-
literally high in school.
Yes, it really is, yeah.
That's
High
School.
school, koko. And this is actually an abbreviation. I think the original term was koto gakko, which is like high level school.
Oh, okay.
But there are a lot of 4 kanji compounds that get abbreviated as 2 kanji.
And it just so happened they both sound the same.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
just like, you know, Tokyo Daigaku is the most prestigious college in Japan. It gets shortened to Todai. You know, the To from Tokyo and the Dai from Daigaku, and they just put those two together. Todai is the nickname for Tokyo Daigaku. And everybody in Japan knows what Todai is. And if you say that you graduated from Todai, it's like, wow. You know, that's like saying you graduated from
Harvard.
Yale or Harvard or Oxford or something.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Gakko.
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 Nihongo, Japanese
Nihongo.
language.
Right?
Kairu, to return.
Kairu, to return. Finally, we have the kanji for kairu.
And it returns.
Yes. Yeah. And if you look at it again, you can use katakana to help yourself remember.
That
You've got a ri, you've got a yo, and then you've got a piece that you just kind of have to memorize.
Yeah.
Upside down yellow.
Upside down.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, or it's almost like upside down deru.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, kairu. Oh, one piece.
What was that?
It was a blank piece.
Oh.
When I cut these were, you know, 2 kanji to a sheet, the way they they came, and so I just cut the sheets in half, but there was an odd number.
Takai. Hi.
Kakai,
Or
high
expensive.
or expensive, right.
Something Roxy. No, something
Kokose.
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 High school student.
Yeah.
Kokose.
Kokose, high school student, there you go. Mainichi.
Mainichi. Every day.
Every day. Notice a component that's sort of familiar looking. I mentioned it earlier. The ha-ha piece, but with the lines fused. See it?
Oh.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
It's drawn basically the same way, except that instead of separating the two little dots, you just draw this one line. Okay, so that's ha-ha underneath there, but it's mainichi. So it's important to make note of the fact that in Japanese, they consider the mai and mainichi as being written with a single line, but ha-ha is written with the two separated lines. And in Chinese, you can actually get away with them being more interchangeable. The single line version is considered a simplified version of the two-line version in Chinese. But in Japanese, they've standardized one for haha and the other for the mai and mainichi. Weird. Okay. What's this one?
Punga.
Bunga.
Bungaku.
Bungaku.
Bun, as in sakubun, composition, or ronbun, essay.
So writing
Baku,
school?
as in study.
Literature.
It's literature, yes. So the study of literature.
Sentence.
So that would be like a major.
Bun can be sentence. It can also be literature. Have you heard the term bunka? Culture?
Culture, yeah.
Yeah, bunka is this same bun.
Oh.
So this bun doesn't just mean a sentence in Japanese, it also can mean
Writing.
culture and the literature in the sense of like essay writing and, everything like that. So bungaku encompasses both fiction and nonfiction literature, just like it would in English.
So that would be like a major.
Yes, bungaku could be a major.
But since
So,
it's sentence
so like Nihon bungaku would be Japanese lit. Eigo bungaku or A bungaku would be English lit.
But it doesn't mean sentence in like the sense of a jail sentence?
No.
That's entirely different?
No, it's not a jail sentence, but it could mean sentence as in sentence structure, like gakusei desu is a sentence.
Ah,
It can mean that bun,
okay,
that sentence.
just making sure.
Did
Yeah.
you just, I don't know if you meant to, but another example for kanji, shortening it to eigo bungaku, instead of eigo bungaku.
Yeah, I think that you can leave the go off if you're adding the bungaku on the end, because
It's already implied.
it's already
Yeah.
implied, because if it's literature,
Words.
it's obviously in that language.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, Nihon bungaku would be Japanese lit. I don't know for certain whether they make a distinction between Nihon bungaku and Nihongo bungaku. Nihongo bungaku sounds like it's implying, at least, that you're talking about only the stuff that's written in the original Japanese, not the translations. But Nihon bungaku could include Japanese literature and translation into other languages.
Ah,
You know, 'cause
Subtleties.
yeah, Nihon bungaku, I mean, there are all kinds of famous novels that have been translated into other languages, right? So, even, some of the purists might not count manga within bungaku, but, they've certainly been translated into other languages, so,
The market for it is huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
So bungaku is literature. And then
Haidu.
haidu.
To
And notice the weird font.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's with that?
They are trying to make a distinction between that and
Do
hito.
and
So
hai.
hito is written this direction, haidu is written that direction. They are basically mirror images of one another.
Enter to the left, people to the right.
Yes. So you just kind of have to get used to it, and you do start with the longer stroke in both cases, okay? So this one is ichi, ni, like that, and this one is ichi, ni, like that.
It's the other way in
Yeah.
They-
It says to do it,
Really?
the,
Sure.
they do that one first.
They
Really?
did that? Really? That's weird.
I don't know about
Take
Hito,
that,
I don't know about
Swift
Hito.
order.
I don't know about Hito, but in this one it goes.
Well, Hito is for sure this way, but okay, this is an example of, I learned my stroke order in Chinese class first. And sometimes they disagree.
Yeah.
It's such a simple character anyway that I don't think it even really matters too
Yeah, it
much.
doesn't matter that much, I don't think, but, yeah, I guess so, yeah. Okay, yeah. Left before right, but top before bottom, so it's, depends on which stroke order rule you're prioritizing.
Yeah, I make
Yeah,
it look as close
But,
as I can.
yeah,
It's just that it's easier to connect it if you do the longer stroke first, I think.
I find it easier to connect it and not let it jut through when I do the longer stroke first.
Yeah,
But it seems like a lot of the way these kanji are written, like if there's a little line sticking off the top, they make the line before they make what it's connected to.
Yeah, so, at any rate, yeah, but this is not the only kanji where I've noticed that our textbook teaches it in a little bit different stroke order than what I would have expected, because, you know, the truth is, like I said, with my Chinese background, I learned the basics of how stroke order works long before I learned some of these particular individual kanji in Japanese. And if I learned them in Chinese first, or if I already felt like I knew stroke order before I learned a particular kanji, I didn't necessarily pay that much attention to what the textbook said, because I figured I know stroke order, I'll write it like this. But I discovered when I was in college in Japan that, you know, my Chinese friends were constantly getting marked off on their kanji quizzes for wrong stroke order,
How
because
could
they
they
were writing
even
it the
tell?
Chinese way.
how could they even tell though?
Probably their natural handwriting made some connections.
Oh, so like
Because, you know,
calligraphy
if
running
you-
together.
Yeah, if you've been writing this stuff your whole life, and you're writing, say, the yo and nichiobi,
Whoa.
that's pretty normal. And you can very clearly see where I made some of my connections and what stroke order I was using from that.
In the language lab one time, I was told she was filling out kanji boxes,
Uh-huh.
assuming to like show somebody.
Yeah,
Man, like destroyed the whole, and like
Yeah.
super complicated kanji, and like I looked at the picture and I looked at what he was writing, and it was like
yeah,
the same thing.
yeah, I mean, you look at Kairu,
Yeah, it was.
That's-
what?
it's pretty typical handwriting right there.
Wow.
So if we drive that on a test, we don't get marked.
I want you guys to print them
I know.
until you get a lot better at the handwriting. Because the problem is, right now, most of you, if you tried to do that, what you would end up with
Is
is
an
illegible
illegible
scribble,
yeah.
because you're not farther along in your training yet. So you need to first get the print stroke order in your muscle memory.
It's like you learn print before you learn cursive.
Right.
Yeah.
Get good at printing, get it in your muscle memory, get your handwriting to be really clear and legible and, you know, nice and readable. And over time, as you develop speed and confidence in your writing ability in Japanese, you'll be able to do that and have it still come out legible. You know, okay.
Can I swing through a topic change real quick?
Okay.
In when I was explaining the Teiru form of the
Yes.
arrow section, it mentioned the kind of little culture thing about Wakari and Shiru.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
It's talking about Wakarimasen versus
Shirimasen.
Can you
Yeah.
just elaborate, because I don't want to offend.
Yeah. Okay, so wakarimasen is basically I don't understand. It can also mean I don't know, and it has no connotation of I don't care, it just, I have no idea, I don't know that information. Wakarimasen. Shirimasen can sound like you're saying,
Like
I don't
that.
know and I don't care. Why would I know that? You know,
Oh.
how should I know? it's got a little bit of an attitude sometimes. So you just want to be careful with shirimasen. If the question is, there are two kinds of possibilities. One is, I'm trying to remember, where was the culture note? Because I want to look at what they said so that I'm not, okay, there, shiru wakaru.
Yeah.
Where's
175.
Yeah. So shirimasen, yeah.
Because it makes it sound like a none of your business thing, but it's
Yeah.
not really what it.
Well, shirimasen okay, say for example in class, you guys had say a homework assignment, and you were supposed to have looked something up and you're supposed to know the answers. If you just didn't do the homework, you would say wakarimasen, because you don't know the answer because you didn't look it up the way you were supposed to. If you say shirimasen in that circumstance, it sounds like you're saying, I don't know and I don't care. Like, I don't care that I didn't bother to look it up. I didn't do the homework. I'm defying you. I don't care about that. It sounds rude. But in the context of, let's say, let's say it's not something that you would necessarily be expected to know. Let's say your friend is asking you, do you know so-and-so's phone number, and you don't know it because you don't know that person. Say, sumimasen, shirimasen. If you use sumimasen in front, sorry, I don't know that. That it softens it, and if it's something where the person didn't have any reasonable expectation that you would know it, they're just hoping that maybe you know it, then I think it's okay to use I don't know that. But if there's any doubt in your mind about whether or not it's okay to use shirimasen in that circumstance, I think wakarimasen is a safer bet.
When it comes to like asking about other people, when I first noticed it was a mother quizzing a daughter about like her friend or something,
Yeah.
and the daughter was just like, shirimasen, like she's like, I guess she was saying like, what did she do, where did she go? And she's like, I don't know, am I supposed to know that? But
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
just
so-
translated as I don't know, so I don't
Right, but if you've got the context of, like, she said wakarimasen first, and then her mom kept badgering her about it, so shirimasen, I don't know, okay?
And so if you're asking, about what did so-and-so eat, and you say
Shirimasen.
shirimasen, is that rude? Saying like, I don't care what they ate, I don't know what they ate.
It depends on so many other factors, on tone of voice, specific situation, attitude, facial expression. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just, there's so much, if you add a particle, like shirimasen ne, that's like, I have no idea, I wonder, that is a lot softer than shirimasen, like, I don't know,
So just default to wakarimasen.
Yeah, wakarimasen is safer until you get a chance to hear it in enough contexts that you have some confidence in which one to say.
There's not going to be any confusion that you're saying, I don't understand the question?
That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
That you, as a language learner, you're a lot more likely to be in a situation where that would be ambiguous. A native speaker doesn't have that problem. If the question is asked and they say wakarimasen, they don't know the answer, right?
Okay.
Because they're a native speaker, so obviously they understood the question, they just don't know the answer, right? But as a language learner, that's why I was saying you could use sumimasen, shirimasen, to say, I'm sorry, I don't know that. And that softens it so that it's clear that you're saying, I don't know the answer, not I didn't understand the question, but you're being polite about it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's good to know.
So, yeah, because if you say wakarimasen, if the person knows you well enough to know that your Japanese is better than that, obviously you understood the question, you just don't know the answer, then fine. But if it's a situation where the person doesn't know you well enough to know your level of Japanese and you say wakarimasen, yeah, you might get a repeated question.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I guess the last thing is if you were talking about, like, say I didn't know that kanji in Otosan.
Yeah.
So, この漢字は
Shiri-
wakarimasen or shirimasen? Because wakarimasen, I feel like you would just rewrite it.
I don't
Like,
understand.
slowly, but
Yeah. この漢字がわかりません。この漢字が知りません。Yeah, again, it depends. I mean, did you not have ever learned that kanji before and you just learned it, or you're wondering what it's called, you don't know how to pronounce it? You know, この漢字がわかりません sounds like you're looking at the kanji but you don't know what it means, you don't know how to read it, you don't know what it is. この But there's, I mean,
it's weird. That's just
Yeah.
why I'm asking, because I was
Yeah.
trying to wrap my brain around it.
yeah, you can, if you know what the kanji means but you don't know how to read it, you could say この漢字の読み方がわかりません or この読み方がわかりません I don't know the reading for this.
So specificity.
Yomikata is the reading, way of reading. So, この読み方がわかりません You know, if you're looking in, say, you're reading a manga in Japanese and it doesn't have the furigana on it because it's a commonly used kanji, but it's one that you're not familiar with in that context. Maybe you know how to read it in some other context, but you don't know how to read it in this context. この読み方がわかりません or この読み方が知りません You could use either one. You know, especially if you're asking somebody for help. すみません、この読み方が知りませんけど、教えてください You know, I don't know this reading, could you please teach it to me? If you say 知りません in that context, it's clear that you don't know it, but you're interested in knowing it because you just asked them, please teach it to you.
Okay.
But honestly, I think わかりません would sound just as natural there, if not more so. この読み方がわかりませんけど教えてください I don't know this reading, could you teach it to me?
Thank you.
Okay, so.
You can use kero to connect sentences. I thought it was but.
Yeah,
What?
You can use it to just connect sentences like that.
well, in that case, it's almost like, I don't know this, but I'd like to, could you please teach it to me?
Kind of like because I don't know this.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Sort of, but kara sounds weird in
yeah.
that context. Kedo makes more sense there. Okay, so, じゃあ次、じゃあ練習しましょうか。文法の練習やりましょうね。176ページを見てください。176ページですね。
Here we go.
じゃあ、サンドリンさんとイージーさん、エグザンプルを読んでください。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
メリーさんはテレビを見ています。
はい、何をしていますか？
何をしていますか？
Be careful the pronunciation because していますか would be do you know it. していますか is doing. Okay?
What?
していますか and 知っていますか are two different phrases.
So is there like spelled Sue in there or something?
Yeah, 知っていますか is like, do you know something? It's from the 知ります、知りません。知りません is the negative form. That's what's normally used to say I don't know something. But 知っています is I know it. They use the ています form for I know. So 知っていますか is like, do you know it? So like, あの人の名前は知っていますか Do you know that person's name? いえ、知りません. No, I don't know that person's name. You know?
There's no connotation of like you should know it.
知っていますか? No, that one's really just asking for information. Do you know that person's name? Okay, 知っていますか is do you know it, but 知っていますか is asking is someone doing it. So 何をしていますか is what are they doing? Okay, so but you want to be very careful that you're pronouncing this one, not this one, because otherwise it sounds like you're saying what do they know? 何を知っていますか It's like, what do you know?
It's like an interrogation.
Well, how long do you have? Okay. じゃあ1番、ビーズさん質問を聞いて、ジョーさん答えてください。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
メリーさんは本を読んでいます。
はい、読んでいますね。
So we use the te form for this?
はい、ています。
Okay,
は
right.
い、じゃあジョーさん2番、ロレンゾさんに聞いてください。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
Mary-san wa and let me see if I can find the verb. It's like oh and it's like an oh yo something.
はい、泳ぐ。
Ah, right. Hold on. Just need to remember.
泳ぐ。
Oyonde?
泳い。
Oyoide.
はい、泳いで。
Okay. Mary-san wa oyoide imasu.
はい、泳いでいます。はい。じゃあ、キャシーさんに聞いてください。3番。
Mary-san wa nani o shite masu ka?
Okay, there's too many choices in there. Okay, so メリーさんは写真を撮っています。
はい、写真を撮っています。じゃあ4番、サンヌンさんに聞いて。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
Did we just learn this thing? vocab. メリさんは歌っています。
いえ、4番。
4番。ああ、メリさんは音楽を、聞いています。
そうですか。
うん。
これ、何と言いますか？
She's listening to music, isn't it?
何歳ですか？本があって、日本語を聞いています。
本があ
Oh.
って
何をしていますか？日本語を聞いて、
日本語を聞いて
本に書いています。
ああ
何をしていますか？日本語を勉強しています。
勉強しています。
でしょ？
うん。
わかりますか？本があって、ノートもあって、ペンもあって、CD を聴いていますね。
はい。
わかりますか？その絵見てください。ペン持っていますね。ペン。そして雑誌じゃなくてノートと本がありますね。教科書とノートありますね。こういうノート。はい。そして CD プレイヤーから何歳ですか？
うん。
聞こえています。
Yeah, I didn't read the
わかりますか？
stuff. Yeah. Hi.
メリさんは勉強しています。
はい、そうですね。じゃあ5番どうぞ。
メリさんは何していますか？
何をしてい
何をし
ますか？
ていますか？
歌っています。
はい、歌っています。はい、じゃあ6番。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
メリーさんは何しています？
話しています。
話しています。
友達と話していますね。日本語を話しています。でしょ？はい。友達と日本語を話しています。わかりますか？
はい。
じゃあ7番どうぞ。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but Mary-san wa Takeshi-san o matte masu?
はい、待っています。はい、
Matte imasu.
はい、待っています。
I use the right particle, right?
はい、たけしさんを待っています。いいですね。
はい。
じゃあ8番どうぞ。
Mary-san wa nani o shite masu ka?
何をしていますか？はい、どうぞ。
ムをししています。
はい。Video game or テレビゲームをしています。Usually they call it テレビゲーム。テレビゲームを
So
しています。
like video games would only apply to say like something on a computer or handheld console.
I'm not sure if the verbiage has changed lately, but the traditional term for video games was テレビゲーム。
Because it's always played on TV.
Yeah, because, all those like Nintendo, PlayStation,
Yeah.
stuff like that connect to a TV traditionally, right? So テレビゲーム is what they used to call them. I believe that's still current, but maybe somebody can ask Hitoshi and find out if there are other terms in use these days, because
I've
now
heard it
you've got
video game.
handheld video game consoles, and you've got, computer-based, and you've got so many different options these days.
Computer game.
Yeah. So, but テレビゲーム is the term that they teach in this book. So, じゃあ9番どうぞ。Kelsey-san, is it your turn to ask? はい。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
メリさんはテニスをしています。
はい。じゃあ10番。
メリさんは、何をしていますか？
飲んでいます。
はい。何を飲んでいますか？
コーヒ
多分コーヒーを飲んでいますね。Looks like a little coffee pot there, right?
コーヒーを飲んでいます。
はい。コーヒーを飲んでいます。あるいはお茶を飲んでいます。It could be tea.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. じゃあ11番。
わかりません。
メリーさんは何をしていますか？
メリさんは電話をかけています。
はい。電話をかけていますね。
Okay, what's with the speech bubble? From what I can tell, it's
Moshi
moshi moshi. What is that?
もしもし、わかりませんか？
Just like saying hello.
It's, when you start a phone conversation in Japanese, you start with もしもし.
Oh, it's like a test if you're there?
Yeah,
Or-
the original meaning was, it's like, hello, anybody there? And so, yeah.
So is it like both people or just the person calling?
Usually, it can be either. The person calling very often starts with もしもし, and then if they don't say anything immediately after that, the other person might also answer with もしもし, and then it'd go on to I'm so-and-so, is so-and-so there, and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just the person calling もしもし. Sometimes the person answering will say it first, もし
So
もし.
just whoever speaks first.
Yeah, and then, some, like, I remember my host sisters, their parents had them well-trained to answer with Hashimoto desu kedo. When they picked up the phone, the call came to their house, Hashimoto desu kedo.
So it's like
This is the Hashimoto residence. Yeah. Hi.
Would it be rude or impolite to say 誰ですか when you?
There are politer ways to ask for that information. So,
Dare
yeah,
desu ka?
誰ですか is who is it?
Oh, right.
But,
Can you just say お名前は何ですか？
お名前は
何ですか？
works, but yeah, usually Japanese people will introduce themselves, but if they don't, どなたかいらっしゃいますか? どなたかいらっしゃいますか is a very polite way to say, excuse me, but may I ask who's calling, please? It's the same basic thing as 誰ですか, but どなた is much politer than 誰. And か
Isn't
いらっしゃいます
irashaimasu like a greeting or something?
That's one of the uses for that word, but it is a word that encompasses a number of different meanings, all of them honorific. So
Is
in
this
this
like-
case, it's like, which honorable person might you be?
Ah, okay.
Who am
Okay.
I?
But
Who am I
it's
greeting?
not like one of
Yeah.
those things with tohu where each iteration is a different kanji or something?
No, this is the same word, but it's got multiple, some of the honorific
uses.
terms encompass several of the words.
But it's almost like yasashi, which can mean easy or a kind person.
Yeah, there are, that's a good analogy. There are several different meanings to irashaimasu.
I would
Okay.
dub that
Okay.
as my most heard word.
What's that?
I would dub that as my most heard word.
Yeah.
Irashaimase.
Yeah, irashaimasu. Yep, every store you walk into,
Or
every
get
single
near.
time.
I walk by
Or
the-
get near.
by
Oh,
the
yeah.
mall, you just walk past it.
Oh, yeah.
Whee!
Yeah, anytime you're walking down a street full of shops on both sides, irashaimasu over and over from all sides, yeah. All trying to get your attention, but politely.
Yeah. The whole time, because like I mean I'm in a foreign country, so I think they're talking to me. Eventually I learned, but for the whole first day or two I was there every single time. I was like,
Okay, じゃあ次のレッスンやってみましょう. So the pair work. What were you doing at the following times yesterday? Be as specific as possible. Where, with whom, and so on. じゃあ Okay, whose turn is it to read the examples? Joe, you finished 11, so Joe さんとザックさん、どうぞ.
ここに時頃何をしていましたか?
Wait, are we
You're
reading the
doing the
example?
example. はい.
Okay, so, yeah, 友達と、部屋で勉強していました。
はい。いいですね。Okay, じゃあ、ザックさん、カシさんに聞いてください。
Okay, alright, so ここに, wait, no, I'm reading the example. ここに6時.
いいえ、午後じゃない。
Wait, what? Oh! I can't believe I messed that up. It's Gogo and
午前。
Gozen, right. So, Gozen 6時. 何をしてますか?
していましたか。
Oh, していましたか?
はい。
Right, it's in the past.
はい。午前6時に、
Gozen 6時に.
or 午前6時頃、
Okay,
何をしていましたか。
何をしてましたか?
How
How would you say aunt's house?
ああ、おばさんのうち。
おばあさんのうちで寝ていました。
はい。Be careful with your おばあさん. You extend it a little bit, makes it sound like she's your grandma instead.
So over at Grandma's house.
おばさん versus おばあさん. Okay. The emphasis shifts slightly to the O in おばさん, so that you can keep it from extending the A, おばさん versus おばあさん. Okay. So she doesn't feel insulted. じゃあ2番どうぞ.
午前8時頃何をしていますしてましたか。
していましたか? はい。
That's a tongue twister.
友達と喫茶店でコーヒーを飲んでいました。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ3番どうぞ。
午前10時頃何をしていましたか?
Can I use hitori de and de for location or verb in the same back to back?
Try it. Let's see if it sounds right. I think.
Hitori de.
はい
Uchi de
はい。
demashita.
はい。
Is that fine?
I think so.
I slept alone at home.
はい。うちで一人で寝ました。はい。
So the
Yeah,
more natural for hitori to go second. Hitori
I
de.
think so. Or you could just say うちで寝ました。
Uchi de
Or
demashita.
うちで寝ていました。Because we're doing ています form. So
Oh, right.
うちで寝ていました。Right. I think in that case, unless you're trying to make it really clear that you were alone, it's not necessary
Oh,
to say
okay.
that.
It's
It's
like-
kind of implied.
It's like setting
Unless-
an alibi
Unless you
for
use
yourself.
toll with somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, so, yeah. うちで寝てました。はい、どうぞ。
Alright. 午後12半12時半
はい、12時半。
12時半何をしましたか何をしていましたか
うちで昼ご飯を食べていましたか、いました。
はい、食べていました。So all of these, notice, it's like we're saying, what were you doing? I was doing X. Okay. いいですね。じゃあ5番どうぞ。
午後6時頃何をしましたか、何をしていましたか、
はい、何をしていましたか。していましたか。
OK。宿題を食べてしました。
犬ですか？
犬みたい
はい
です。
はい
宿題を食べていましたか？じゃあ6番どうぞ。
午後に8時。
午後8時。
Oh,
No me in there.
right. 午後8時。何をしてますか？
何をしていましたか？
言いました。I keep forgetting it. Okay.
はい
何をしていました
か。
か。
はい
There we go.
おばさんのうちで日本語を勉強しました。
勉強
していました。
していました。はい、いいですね。
It's an extra
じゃあ7番
double
どうぞ。
syllable that gets us.
11時頃何をしていましたか？
午後11時。
11時。
午後11時。
午後11時頃に何をしていましたか？
一人で図書館で勉強していました。
あ、そうですか。
I studied alone at the library.
はい。すごかったですね。はい。じゃあ質問がありますか？ Okay.
Please tell me it's play charades.
You guys want to try it?
Aw, yeah.
I could not find my charades cards. I used to have some index cards with suggested activities, but if you feel like you can come up with something, the limitations are it has to be something that we actually have the vocabulary for in Japanese. Don't be doing verbs that we haven't studied how to say. Okay? So you want to start it off, Zach?
I can't think of anything right now.
But how, the
Right.
example is Tanaka-san wa uchi de oyoideimasu. Like, how do you know about?
海で泳いでいます。
Umi. Oh, okay. I read it as uchi, and I was like, how do we know it's at his house?
Swimming at his house.
How do we know?
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
But you can just pantomime swimming and,
How do you know it's umi? How do you know it's umi day? Why wouldn't they
As
just give
opposed
you
to a
a
lake
word?
or something.
Yeah,
I feel like
personally, I
it's
think for this activity it would make more sense to just do, yeah, I mean, we could do it as Pictionary if you guys would rather, but it would make more sense to just do the verbs if you're doing charades, because
Right.
most of these, I mean, unless it's clearly like this, which would be,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't necessarily
Either
say
that or,
the Toshokan,
dairaku
but you
de.
could say hon o yondeimasu, or Nihongo o benkyou shiteimasu. Even that one it's got more than one possibility, right?
クラス
So,
で
I think
Pictionary.
クラスで
クラスで、じゃあやってみますか？じゃあ誰が始めますか？ Who wants to come up here first?
Trying to think of something.
ジョーさん
Try something out. Oh, Zach was really asking about it, so I think you should
Oh.
go first.
That reminds me. Is there a bless you in Japanese?
I've heard that some people use hakushon, which sounds like an onomatopoeia for a sneeze. But,
Do they have a? Does it have
but
a?
there's no traditional version of bless you for when someone sneezes.
Yeah,
A lot
'cause
of
it
Japanese
started
families.
with the whole, people thought your soul was going out and you
Yeah,
would sneeze, right?
it's from a medieval superstition, so,
Yeah.
you know, European superstition, so there's no cultural connection to Japan. I think because of the Christian connection, Christian Japanese families may have adopted something.
'Cause
Well,
like
I
in
hakushon,
Spanish and
but
they say salud, which just means health. Or
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
German does
Japanese
the same
doesn't-
thing with Gesundheit.
Right, but I think Japanese doesn't have a traditional thing. Most of the time when you sneeze in Japan, people just look to see if you're okay.
Also, I've seen
But
this a
they don't
couple
say
times.
anything particularly.
I've seen this a couple times before, but is the superstition that whenever you sneeze that someone's probably talking about you, is that a
I've
good
never
problem?
heard that. I've never heard that, so I don't
Really?
know. But,
I just did
yeah,
one.
in general, like, it's more likely that, say, you just look to check if the person's okay, and then the person who sneezed, if it was like a really silent room or something, they might say, sumimasen, or shirashimashita, or something, like, sorry. You know, if you have a really loud sneeze in the middle of a quiet library or something, you might say, shirashimashita. But, yeah, there's no particular custom around what to say when someone sneezes in Japanese culture. Yeah, the only person I ever heard the hakushon comment from was actually a Japanese American guy who I think that's what their family did. But like I said, you know, it does, if you're a couple generations removed from life in Japan, or whatever, you don't know what's just your family or just the region your family came from and what's common throughout Japan.
Yay, confusion!
Yeah. So, if nobody's gonna come up, let's just skip to the next class. Hi, やりますか?
私は何をしていますか？
はい、何をしていますか? はい。
Oh, wait, is there a word for blackboard?
はい、黒板。
Okay, so, 黒板を消して
消しています。はい。
消しています。
はい。はい、出てきました。はい、次。
あ、何をしていますか？
Do we know the word for drawings?
I would say writing.
Oh, writing, so,
あ、
書く、
書いています。
書いています。はい。
And
黒板に書いていま
it's
す。
hard not to laugh because he's like,
that hen's dead.
何をしていますか? はい。そう、漢字を書いていましたね。漢字を書いていました。はい。Anyone else?
I think I got one.
はい、どうぞ。
Let's try this.
死んでいます。
We know the word for fish though, right?
はい。
魚が死んでる。
魚を
お
魚が死んでいます。
And it's the same one for live fish versus fish you eat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright.
え
はい
As soon as I saw the fishbowl, I knew we were
Anyone else have one?
私は何をしていますか？
宿題をしています。
はい。
Do we know the word for cheat though? I feel like we do.
No,
I thought we did for some reason. I don't know why.
Do we know how to say to put on? To say to use, I guess.
to use,
Yeah,
使
to
う
use. Scout.
So could I say 何をしていますか?
Sunglasses or
Megaphone.
to get
Yeah,
Swag.
actually, yeah, サングラスを
It's like,
かける, the verb that we use for
Making
電
a
話を
phone
かける. It's this, again, homophone, I don't know if it's the same kanji or not, but かける is also used for wearing glasses. So, サングラスをかけています or メガネをかけています. Regular glasses that are prescription are メガネ, but sunglasses for sunglasses. They make a distinction between those.
What is megane?
め Megane, the me part, I believe, is the kanji for eye, and then the kane part is from, I think it's from a root word that has to do with like mirrors and glass and things like that. So, megane. Hi.
I noticed that it's in this chapter, mochiron for of course.
Uh-huh.
When would you use that? Because like how Japanese conversations seem to take place,
Wait,
it feels
yeah.
weird to ever say of course.
Yeah, well, like, これ食べてもいいですか？もちろんどうぞ。
Wait,
Yeah.
what was he
so-
asking?
入ってもいいですか？
Yeah, so like, もちろん means of course. So example would be like your hostess puts cookies and ocha in front of you on the coffee table, and you're like, 本当に食べてもいいですか? Is it really okay to eat that? はい、どうぞ、もちろん、どうぞ、どうぞ。You know, もちろん、どうぞ。You know, like that. So, yeah, sometimes people are so polite that they're like hesitant to even take what has been offered to them. So, 本当にいいですか? もちろんどうぞ. Of course, go ahead. You know, that's an example that I can think of. You know, 寿司が好きですか? もちろん大好きですよ.
Of course, I love sushi.
Yeah.
So,
So
just more like
think-
emphasis.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's emphasis and yeah, it's situations where of course sounds welcoming or positive, not rude. So it's not as likely to come up where you're saying like, are you sure you want to do XYZ? You don't, you know, it could come up there, but it would depend on the context.
So
But don't forget, you know, we're using all pretty formal stuff right now. We're learning formal stuff because their assumption in this book is that when you first get to Japan, you're not going to know a lot of people very well, so you need the formal language in order to communicate politely with strangers and acquaintances that you haven't known for very long, right? When you get into casual speech, you're a lot less concerned about being rude to, say, your best friend. So mochiron comes into play more often in situations where you're being more casual. You know, you're asking your friend, hey, you want to go see a movie tomorrow? Mochiron. You know, that kind of thing.
it's amazing in casual speech how much you can just speak with verbs.
Yeah.
Verbs back and forth.
Yeah. Iku.
Yeah. When I
行こうよ.
first started talking to Toshi, like we were talking about kanji,
Mm-hmm.
and then he hit me with like some block of kanji, a whole bunch that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had to tell him that I don't know, and he's like, and then for the next couple of texts, it was like
Yeah.
verbs back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, moving on. Okay. じゃあ、お父さんはどこに住んでいますか? 次。じゃあ、where did we leave off? I've completely lost
Dictionary.
count. Yeah, so, 知りませんね。わかりませんね。私も。じゃあ、イージーさんとジョーさんお願いします。
お父さんはどこに住んでいますか?
お父さんはニューヨークに住んでいます。
住んでいます。はい
住んでいます。
ニューヨークに住んでいますね。じゃあ、ジョーさんとザックさん1番。
お姉さんはどこに住んでいますか?
もう一度言ってください。
お姉さんはお姉さんは
お姉さんは
どこに住んでいますか?
住んで?
どこに住んでいますか? Where does she live? You're looking at the chart here on the
Yeah,
middle of the page. どこに
It's
住
I
んでい
don't
ます
think I've heard the 住んで before.
住む
新しい単語。
住みます。住む。住んでいます。It's an
Is it
新しい単
vocab
語。
word?
はい、
'Cause I
新
don't
しい
think
単
we've
語
gone
です。
over those yet.
That's true. We haven't actually done the vocab drill that we normally would have started with. I completely forgot that today.
Yeah, I was looking over the kanji mostly in
I thought
lab, so.
we were just gonna skip it because you had assumed we studied it, so I was like.
Okay.
Yeah, I just looked at the kanji
Because you said it had taken too much time.
Yeah, well, what do you
Yeah.
guys think? At this level, for level 1, I kind of felt like it was important.
This is pretty implied at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one word, one new
Because
word.
I mean, we know we have to know the words to do
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
How,
I mean, it might be nice just so we know how to pronounce them.
okay, do you guys want to maybe go through them once today and then feel like after that we don't necessarily need to drill vocab in class? Or do you want to still drill it daily or some of the time?
Yeah, I don't think daily.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, once a week or just once at the beginning of the chapter and then everybody's on their own to learn their vocab?
Maybe once a week would be nice.
I'm good for anything as long as it's not daily. I think
Yeah.
daily is
Yeah.
too much.
Daily's too
Once a
much?
week.
Yeah.
Once a week is good? Okay, じゃあ今やりますか？
はい
じゃあ単語をやりましょ
We
う。
already went over the family members though, so.
はい、well, we can just run
Yeah.
through all of them. We don't have to do the 3 by 3 if you think that's too
One by one.
much.
Yeah, one by one's
One
good.
by one's good?
Yeah.
Okay. じゃあ姉、
Older sister.
older sister,
姉。
アパート、
Apartment.
apartment,
アパート。
妹、
Younger sister.
younger sister,
妹。
歌、
Song.
song,
歌。
おじいさん、
Grandfather.
grandfather,
おじいさん。
弟、
Younger brother.
younger brother,
弟。
男の人、
Man.
man,
男の人。
let's see, お兄さん、
Older brother.
older brother,
お兄さん。
お姉さん、
Older sister.
older sister,
お姉さん。
おばあさん、
Grandmother.
grandmother,
おばあさん。
女の人、
Woman.
woman,
女の人。
会社、
Company.
company,
会社。
家族、
Family.
family,
家族。
髪、
Hair.
hair,
髪。
兄弟、
Siblings.
はい、siblings,
兄弟。
口、
Mouth.
mouth,
口。
国、
Country.
country,
国。
車、
Car.
car,
車。
ゲーム、
Game.
ゲーム、
ゲーム。
コンビニ、
Convenience store.
convenience store,
コンビニ。
サークル、
Club activity.
club activity,
サークル。
食堂、
Cafeteria.
cafeteria,
食堂。
父、
Father.
my father,
父。
DVD,
DVD.
はい、DVD,
DVD.
母、
My mother.
my mother,
母。
目、
I.
eye,
目。
メガネ、
Glasses.
glasses,
メガネ。
頭がいい、
Bright.
smart, clever,
頭が、
頭がいい.
頭がいい。Right.
Break it down. Atama means head.
Yeah.
I means good.
頭がい
The
い。
ga is the particle ga. So you're saying that the person's head is good. Atama ga ii.
頭がいい。
はい。かわいい.
Cute.
Cute.
かわいい。
Tall.
背が高い。
背が高い。
高い。
はい。背が高い.
Tall.
Okay. 背が高い. Say again. Tall.
背が高い。
はい。
背が高い。
背が低い.
Short.
Short.
背が低い。
はい。長い.
Long.
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 長い。
Okay. 早い.
Fast.
Fast.
早い。
短い.
Short.
Short.
短い。
親切な. Kind.
親切な。
便利な.
Convenient.
Convenient.
便利な。
歌う.
Sing.
Sing.
歌う。
かぶる.
To put on a hat.
To put on a hat.
かぶる。
知る.
Get to know.
Get to know.
知る。
知っています.
I know.
I know.
しています。
知りません.
I do not know.
I don't know.
知りません。知りません。
住む.
To live.
To live.
住む。
Place に住んでいます. To live in a place. Okay, so Melbourne に住んでいます. I'm living in Melbourne. Okay. 履く.
Put on below the waist.
はい. Put on below the waist.
履く。
太る.
He's gain weight.
To gain weight.
太る。
太っています.
To be on the heavy side.
To be on the heavy side.
Seriously?
はい。
They're even getting all polite in the translations.
メガネをかける。
Put on glasses.
Put on glasses.
メガネをかける。
はい。着る。
To put on above your waist.
はい。To put on above your waist.
着る。
はい。勤める。
To work for.
To work for.
To work for.
勤める。
はい。And so place に勤めています。So for example, 銀行に勤めています。Working in a bank. Okay.
Alright.
痩せる。
To lose weight.
To lose weight.
痩せる。
痩せています。
To be thin.
To be thin.
痩せています。
痩せて
痩せています。
はい。There you go. 結婚する。
To get married.
Get married.
結婚する。
はい。が、
But,
but,
が、
何も、
not anything.
not anything,
何も。
with the negative, yes.
Yeah.
人、
Counter for people.
counter for people.
に。
一人、
One person.
One
one
person.
person.
一人。
二人、
Two people.
two people.
二人。
Okay, so those two are irregular, and then it goes to san, nin, yonin, gonin, and from then on it's normal number pronunciation.
Okay.
Okay, 別に,
Nothing.
nothing in particular.
別に negative.
Yes, so for example, 別に食べません would be I'm not going to eat anything in particular. You know, 別に何も知りません. I don't know anything in particular about that subject. You know,
Like, 明日何をしますか?
別に何もしません. Yeah, I'm not doing anything in particular. Okay, もしもし.
Hello, is anyone there?
Hello.
もしもし。
もしもし。
Okay, もちろん.
Of course.
Of course.
もちろん。
よかったら.
If you like.
If you like.
よかったら。
Okay, this is, yes, たら. The よかった, you know from いいです.
Yeah.
よかったです, right? Taking that's actually past tense short form, よかった, adding the ra onto that makes it like if. So if it's okay with you, よかったら.
よかったら。
So よかったら今行きましょう. If it's okay with you, let's go now. You know, よかったら寿司を食べましょう. よかったら、you know, 買い物をしましょう. You know, it could be whatever, things like that. いいですか? And we're just about out of time, but are there questions about anything?
It's just with the sunde thing in here.
So 住んでいます means
Yeah, it's just.
to be living. So there are
No, it's just
certain.
I remember the kanji is the waffle fry component. So do we actually have to know that?
It's actually one less line.
It is. Oh.
The one from Yol has 4 horizontals,
Yeah.
and this has 3. But no, that's not one of the kanji that you're required to know right now.
Okay.
Okay? So, as usual, the kanji you're responsible for are just the ones that are taught in lesson 7, kanji in the back. So the ones that we went over earlier, you know, kyoko and chisai and kaisha and chichi haha, koko, takai,
Right.
you know. So like in the phrase sega takai, you can still write the se in hiragana, but you're going to start writing takai with the kanji.
The ga is also in hiragana.
Sega takai. Yes, the ga is always going to be hiragana because it's a
It's
particle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, particles stay hiragana.
I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I'm gonna hear that, I'm always gonna think of the gaming company.
Sega.
Just.
Okay. Okay. 質問がありますか? はい.
Oftentimes when I hear somebody talk about their brother, for example, they'll say, instead of just ani, they'll say aniki.
Aniki. Yeah, that's just sort of a slang version of ani. It's more colloquial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so aniki. Yeah.
Is it also?
It's also a way to help it be easily understood and distinguished from other things that might sound similar.
Oh, okay.
There are a number of words like that where the two might sound alike, and so one of them has like a slang version or a colloquial version that adds a little syllable to distinguish it from the other one that
Like
sounds
ane
similar.
and like ane and ani. Is that like?
Well,
part-time?
ane and ani are talking about one's own
Yeah, but you were
older
saying
sister and
the-
older brother,
the
but
he-
aniki is like another term for my own older brother.
Okay.
Okay, so your own older brother you can refer to as aniki instead of just ani. It makes it a little easier to distinguish what the person said, especially if they're from one of the dialect regions that doesn't enunciate the sounds the same way as standard.
Yay,
So-
dialects!
Yeah, so when we get together on Thursday, we will pick up from part 2 and deal with One-san wa doku ni sunde ka and the other stuff like that. And we'll talk about describing people, mega oki, mega chisai kind of stuff, comparing people who are, short and tall and other
Creepy eyes.
things. And hopefully we'll get into connecting two adjectives in the same sentence. That somebody is both smart and beautiful, or the house is both clean and cheap, or whatever. Okay?
It's ugly and delicious. I don't know.
Kekon Suju reminded me of the very first time I was exposed to like what you were saying in the beginning in Japanese one, how formality can be rude if it's not used right, even if you don't use any like bad words or nasty vocab.
Right.
And there was this political speech, and the woman was talking about marriage in Japan and stuff, and she's not married,
Uh-huh.
but she was the one who was talking about all the marriage stuff, and she's a politician. And there was this whole room of Japanese people listening to her speech, and one guy stands up and yells, "Omae ga kekkon shiro," and the whole room was like,
Oh gosh, yeah, that was
So wait,
incredibly
like,
rude.
They just
super
literally say,
rude language, but literally all he said was, "You get married."
Yeah.
But the language is like for you, and then shiro is
Yeah.
a nasty word, so it was just like,
Yeah.
and then just hearing that.
Yeah,
made me
but
laugh.
then again in English it's like, hey, how about you get married? See how you like it.
But people would use bad words in English to like be mean. But all that literal translation is "you get married." But it's just
Yeah,
I guess it depends on how you translate "omae," though.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, shiro is like a really gross word. It's really mean.
Isn't that the word for white?
No, well, it can be, but it's like it's a ending of sudu. It's like
yeah, it's
like a mean te form. It's like an imperative.
Yeah, it's an imperative, it's a command form. It's, the way I describe it is, it's appropriate if you're the drill sergeant and the person you're talking to is the private in your company that just screwed up royally and you're chewing him out. That's the kind of structure it is.
So it's inherently enraged.
It sounds like how you
Pretty
would talk
much.
it sounds like how you would talk to your dog, like sit. Like
Yeah,
Like,
well,
you're really annoyed with your dog.
Japanese people are politer than that with their dogs.
Really?
Osolare. They put O on the front of it.